Who is the suffering servant of Isaiah 52 and 53? Christians claim that these chapters prophesy the coming of their so-called God incarnate, Jesus. One of the first sources to associate Isaiah 53 with the coming of the Messiah was the Gospel of Matthew. Matthew 8:17 cites Isaiah 53:4 to show that Jesus fulfilled the prophecy that he took our illnesses and bore our diseases. Naturally, Christians also believe that Isaiah 53:5 is also a direct prophecy about Jesus. But he was pierced for our transgressions, he was crushed for our iniquities. Upon him was the chastisement that brought us peace, and with his wounds we are healed. But as with most of the so-called prophecies that Christians proudly and ignorantly point to as proof for their religion, the appeal to Isaiah 53 falls apart when that inconvenient thing called context is considered. When we consider other aspects of the suffering servant, there is no possibility of applying it to the Jesus of the New Testament. For example, verse 10 states, "He shall see his offspring, he shall prolong his days, the will of the Lord shall prosper in his hand." Well, Jesus never had any offspring, even according to the Gospels. Also, since when did Jesus take upon himself the illnesses and diseases of those he healed? When he drove out the demons, did the demons then possess Jesus? When he healed the leprous and the sick, did he become leprous or sick himself? No, he didn't. As the acclaimed commentary by W.D. Davies and Dale Allison states, even though Matthew 8:17 is a possible rendering of Isaiah 53:4, it cannot be rightly said that the NT verse captures the true sense of the OT text. In Isaiah, the servant suffers vicariously, carrying infirmities in himself. In the Gospel, he heals the sick by taking away their diseases. In the OT, the distress seems to be mental or spiritual. In Matthew, physical illnesses are the subject. So a text about vicarious suffering has become a text about healing, and two different pictures are involved. These are all good points and serve to refute the Christian argument. But the best argument, one that Christians cannot simply dismiss as scholarly opinion or non-scriptural interpretation, is the one that comes from their own scripture. You see, long before the Gospel of Matthew was written, another book of the Bible had already claimed the suffering servant of Isaiah for a group of Jews living in the 2nd century BCE. This book is the book of Daniel. Daniel 11:33 states, "And the wise among the people shall make many understand, though for some days they shall stumble by sword and flame, by captivity and plunder." And Daniel 12:3 states, "And those who are wise shall shine like the brightness of the sky above, and those who turn many to righteousness like the stars forever and ever." These verses echo the language of Isaiah 53:11. "By his knowledge shall the righteous one, my servant, make many to be accounted righteous, and he shall bear their iniquities." This shows that the author of Daniel 11-12, writing in the 2nd century BCE, interpreted the suffering servant to be a metaphor for the righteous Jews who were struggling against the Seleucid king Antiochus IV. Commenting on the wise, i.e. the masculine, people in Daniel 11:33, John J. Collins states in his commentary, the designation is taken from the suffering servant of Isaiah 52:13, who is said to justify the many. Their triumph comes through suffering and heavenly exaltation. In regard to Daniel 12:3, which again mentions the wise or masculine, Collins states that the masculine take their name from the servant in Isaiah 52-53. The allusion is made all the clearer here when they are called those who turn many to righteousness. The motif of exaltation is found in Isaiah 52:13. And this is not a new argument. Scholars have known this for decades. In a 1953 paper in the acclaimed journal Vetus Testamentum, H.L. Ginsburg stated, "The author of Daniel 11-12 has simply identified the servant of Isaiah 52:13 through 53:12 with the masculine, enlightened or enlighteners of his day, and the many of the said passage with the many of Daniel 11:33 and 34. He also stated confidently, "Undoubtedly our author has identified the many of Isaiah 52:13 through 53:12 with the masses in the time of the Antiochian religious persecution, and the servant with the minority of steadfast anti-Hellenizers." So there it is. Isaiah 53 was not about Jesus as the Christians know him from their Gospels, at least not according to the author of Daniel 11-12. This is a catastrophic blow to the Christian argument because it is their own scripture that says this. The author of Daniel 11 preceded the author of the Gospel of Matthew by more than 200 years. They could both be wrong in their unique interpretations, but they definitely both cannot be right.
وَقُلْ جَاءَ الْحَقُّ وَزَهَقَ الْبَاطِلُ إِنَّ الْبَاطِلَ كَانَ زَهُوقًا